What would you say is the number one emotion that blocks us from peace, harmony, and ultimate happiness?
Shame. I think it's shame. Like, shame is so toxic, and shame is usually the result of relational trauma.
Really? When does shame occur?
I write about this. It can happen. Brene Brown talks about shame in a way that I love also. I think I write about shame from a relational trauma perspective. And there's two shame cycles that I talk about within trauma, within relational trauma. One is when you're verbally or physically abused. You worthless piece of, okay? You internalize, I'm a worthless piece of. So you have a part that holds shame. Shame is not I did something wrong. Shame is I am bad. So when there's an external shamer, we develop an internal shamer and an internal shamed.
Wow.
Okay? You worthless piece of, if you behave, we won't get in trouble. So when you're critically abused, verbally abused, or externally shamed, you have a shame wound. I'm bad. I'm no good.
Is that sexual abuse too?
Sexual abuse can, yeah, I would say sexual abuse too. It's interesting. I could just feel that so powerfully. Like, it adds another dimension to it. Like, it's like the
Worthless
vile, worthless. It adds another layer of shame, right? You can relate from your own history, right? So I would say it's another depth. Another layer of I am horrible, I am bad. That's one shame cycle that can be healed, okay? And that's the wound, is I am no good. It takes a long time to heal shame wounds. They can be healed, but it takes a long time. It's such a physiologically powerful emotion, and it's so reflexive and reactive, right? Instantaneous.
It's probably why you had this kind of reaction when your kids would touch you and jump on your back. You're like,
it's so reflexive. The other shame wound comes from neglect.
And that could be big T neglect or little t neglect,
yeah,
right?
Like, I am so bad that my parent doesn't even care. I'm so bad that I'm not worth food or clothing or a hug.
Or love or affection.
So when it's neglect, it's and I call this one the hyper aroused, you yelling and screaming. This one's the hypo aroused, numb, detached, disconnected. And then you develop an internal shamer or disconnector. Like, those are the people who are disconnected from themselves because they've learned that disconnection is a way of being in the world.
Wow.
See? So those are two such shame cycles that I work with in relational trauma. All different versions over and over again.
How is someone who is disconnected or analytical and not in their body and connected to their heart?
Yes.
Based on conditionings of neglect and shame.
Yep.
How does someone like that learn to process and heal so they're fully in their body and in their heart and connected to themselves and the world?
That was so when I had the smart intellectual practor in a big way.
I'm going to know it all.
You don't get to Harvard. Like, I was like, and I was who I was.
It's your identity.
Who I was. I am smart. And it was, intellect fills a void. Intellect fills the void, the shame void. It's like,
really?
And those parts.
If I feel worthless, then this will help me not feel worthless.
I'm gonna fill the space. I'm gonna figure it out. I'm gonna understand it. I'm gonna solve the problem, right? And those parts have a very hard time stepping back. If I step back, there's nothing, right?
If I don't lead with my intellect or showcase my abilities or skills,
I'm nothing.
Wow.
I'm nothing. And so, right? Wow. And it's so powerful. So it takes take a long time to work with those. And I remember the moment that I wasn't like fully identified with that part.
Really?
It's like it was like one of these like identity crises. It's like, who am I? Who am I if I'm not smart? Like then it was where I was like, oh, you're funny, and oh, you like this. Like I started seeing the other dimensions, but for the longest time, it was like I write about this in the book. I used to run home with A's on my report card, hoping my dad will love me. Like she's gonna love me now. The gold stars on the report card,
Perfect.
Yeah,
GPA.
that was
top of the
so
class.
I was driven for achievement to get love.
Did he ever acknowledge you or love you when you had A's?
It didn't. He acknowledged. We got $1 for every A back in the day. Okay, we got $1 for every A. Okay, so but it didn't get me what I wanted. It didn't get me love.
Really?
It didn't get me love.
So you got rewarded in monetary ways, but not emotional or affectionate ways.
Exactly. So it take those people that are all left-brained.
How does someone learn how to fully love and love themselves and give themselves affection when their parents didn't have the tools or wasn't in their DNA to touch, hug, kiss, and love on their kids? And when I went to Japan last year, I saw this and I heard this from many people that said just the culture. I'm sure some people didn't do this, but the culture in general just wasn't affectionate with kids. And it's very academic driven, achievement driven, type of culture. Again, not all parents were this way, but it seemed like this was the culture. And they grew up not able to express their emotions as fully based because of that.
That's right.
So if someone was raised without affection from their parents, love, attention, how do they learn to give themselves affection and be comfortable receiving from others when they never received from their parents?
Yes. It's a great question because it is, I'm going to say it's possible. I do believe it's possible. And it's undoing a lot of family legacy, cultural trauma, transgenerational trauma. Okay, so there's a lot that comes up in transgenerational trauma around that.
Dr. Marielle Bouquet talks about generational trauma.
That's exactly right. It's huge. We all grow up in some form of a family that we've internalized the messages through ethnicity, through the family culture, through, so we internalize that stuff. That's also not our energy. It's energy we absorb because of the family we're in.
Gosh.
Okay? So once you differentiate who you are from what you were subjected to, or what family you were born into, what's yours, what isn't yours, right? And this idea we all have love within us.
Yes.
We all have it. So even if you're programmed not to, we all have it.
We all have it.